Welcome to the third episode of knowledge sharing. So this time around, we have prototype with ProtoPie. The presenter will be Melan. Last time also Melan. So he's very excited to share the exciting stuff about the ProtoPie lah. Before that, right? If you guys have any question, anything, just put it in the comment. What do you call it? There's a feature called Q&A on the right side, so you guys can actually just put it there. So probably if when I have time, you can just pause in between and then go through the question lah. We try to aim to finish this session in 1 hour. If it say it's already past 6 p.m., if you guys need to go, feel free lah, can go lah. But those that wants to stay can stay lah. Okay, I think we can start first. Pass it to you, Melan.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Okay, welcome to the third episode of knowledge sharing, guys. So today's topic is ProtoPie, and as Adam mentioned, I will be the one who doing this. And sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so this will be, I think, so I have 1 hour only. So this will be, I think, more like a beginner session, I would say. And we'll be planning to do one session maybe after this. Still no idea, but yeah. So ProtoPie is kind of, I won't say complex, but kind of like a very like variety of things we have to cover. So this will be mostly on like introduction to ProtoPie and basic structure, the model of ProtoPie, and how to get started with ProtoPie. So as Adam mentioned, I think I'll stop in between demos. I have few demos prepared, so we're going to build those. So I'll stop in between those if you guys have any questions, so I can answer, and then moving on. So okay, yeah, let's get started. Okay, ProtoPie. What is ProtoPie? ProtoPie is from ProtoPie you can create highly detailed prototypes without writing a single line of code. So that's it has very advanced features, so you can create advanced micro interactions, same as the prototypes. And also it has if else conditions. So if else conditions, as an example, let's say you have a scroll, and after you scroll a certain amount of pixels, do this. So I think you guys have seen we have some screens where after you scroll a bit, the header is sticky, those kind of stuff you have to do on Figma. You have to like do in like a hacky way, but with ProtoPie you can do those easily. And also I mentioned without writing a single line of code, but ProtoPie has provided us to work with like very simple JavaScript as well. So if you write like one line of code or functions from JavaScript, you can do more advanced stuff. So ProtoPie, I have used ProtoPie for mostly on user testing and also documentations. So for some of the documents, I need like a GIF or the movie of how the feature works. So that thing sometimes I was not able to create easily on Figma, and so I use ProtoPie to do those, mainly the scroll related stuff, as I mentioned. And user testing also. So when we user testing, the prototype needs to be highly detailed. So we cannot let the user say, you cannot have this, you cannot have that. So to make it highly detailed, I use ProtoPie as for user testing. So let's try to compare ProtoPie with other apps real quick, right? So let's take Sketch. I know Sketch is not a prototyping tool, but it has some capabilities, prototyping capabilities. So let's consider this circle thing you see is the other things we can do on Sketch, prototyping things we can do on Sketch. So when we compare Sketch to Figma, Figma has more capabilities on prototyping. And if you're moving on, this was my previous favorite prototyping tool before I start using ProtoPie. It's Flinto, and it has more. Moving on, so I think guys know Principle. It has some extra stuff than Flinto. So when I compare all these apps, ProtoPie has so much of extra stuff, so much of advanced stuff. You can do things very easily compared to all the other apps. So without me just saying what other things we can do, um, let's see what we can do. So this is a quick demo, a quick prototype I created. So here you can see I have animations and those interactions, the swipe gestures, and I'm moving in between pages. This thing I can do on Figma as well, maybe, but needs more effort, and I need like more duplicated screens, and especially to handle this uh, transition between two screens. This one I made it very easily on ProtoPie. Just have to use few functions on ProtoPie. I can make this very easily. And there's another example. So this is another concept I did. So here you can see when I swipe between the pump numbers, you can see the number is uh, selecting correctly, and also same goes to the amount, volume, and other stuff as well. You keep an eye on the pay button. So these values, so based on these values, so amount and the uh, gas type, sorry, fuel type, and amount for the fuel types, the pay button is update on real time. And yeah, you can see when I swipe between the different types, it get updates on real time. And ProtoPie has a really nice feature that's voice search, voice recognition. So from ProtoPie, you can do voice search. Here I'm searching for pump 5 full tank, and you can see these bars. It's also actually updating based on the decibel intensity. So when I talk, these bars are moving based on the decibel values. And I say pump 5 full tank. When I say that, it gets selected in the background. So this is another advanced stuff we can do using native components available on ProtoPie. And this is not from me. I got this from Dribble, and this is another advanced prototype. So here it's not a real app. So here it's a prototype did using ProtoPie. So here using most of the device features like orientation and also multi-touch. So and it's a very neat prototype did using ProtoPie, and it has vibration haptic feedback as well. So yeah, those kind of stuff we can do using ProtoPie. So let's go to the last example. Here we are using the native camera. This is also from Dribble. Here you're using the native camera to validate. Yeah, so you get the camera access first. That's a real camera access, and you're taking a picture using your phone camera. And yeah, here you can see after taking that. So here you're doing a validation as well. So input validation. So here after we enter the card number, it detects the prefix of the Visa card, and the card type get filled based on that. And also real time when you're typing the number and other details, it get updated as well. And here using the native keyboard, and if you notice, so this one it's only a number field, so you can change it to a number field as well. So this is very handy when we do user testing and stuff. Also, if you notice, it has we can talk to the native keyboard in the return key as well. So when you press, if you're on the first input field, when you tap the return key, it goes to the second field. So those are a few of the things we can do on ProtoPie. And this is not just for mobile, so you can create any interface sizes for any interface. Uh, and yeah, let's quickly get into the conceptual model of ProtoPie. This is the basic structure of ProtoPie and how we create animations and interactions. Or the entire thing depend on this. Okay, let's get into it. So let's look at this animation. So what I'm doing here. So this prototype, what I do is I tap on the circle, and it'll move. So if I ask you to say explain what is happening here, that's what would you say, right? So I click on the circle and it'll move. So there are key three words here. First thing is tapping on the circle. Second thing is the circle here. It means the circle here, this context, and moving. So in ProtoPie, so we refer to these as trigger and object and response. So what is trigger, what is object, what is response? So here we are tapping on the circle. So to do so here change happens, right? When I tap on something, something happens. So something happens because I'm tapping on the circle. So that's the trigger. So tapping is the trigger. And because I tap, the change happen on the circle. So the circle is the object. And because I tap, what is happening to the circle? The circle moves. So that's the response. So trigger, object, and response. The you build everything on ProtoPie using these interactions. On ProtoPie, we call it as interaction or interaction pieces. So you build the whole thing by creating building one interaction after another interaction after another interaction. So you're building one by one and uh, creating the whole prototype or the animation you have. And let's look into another example and see whether you guys can see, I guess, the trigger, response, and object. So here is another example. So what I do here, what I'm doing here is I'm dragging this rectangle, this red rectangle thing. I'm dragging. When I drag, it increase the scale, so it scale up. So here the width is changing. So when I drag the rectangle, it will scale. So again, because I'm so to change to the change happening because I'm dragging the rectangle. So I'm dragging the rectangle, the change happening. So that's the trigger. Because I'm dragging, the change is happening on the rectangle. So that is the object. So what is the change happening here? The change happens here is the scaling. So here the which changes. So that's the response. And let's spice things up a little. So let's add another interaction on top of this interaction. Uh, yeah. So just hang in there, right? If you don't understand it, it's fine. So when you start using ProtoPie and when you the trial and error things, even if you don't understand why I use this trigger, why I use this response, you will get to know when you start using ProtoPie. So yeah, so here uh, what is the trigger here? Yeah, I'm dragging. So my initial interaction was there also. So I'm dragging the rectangle, it changes is width. But here another thing is changing, the color also changing. But the color is changing not because I'm dragging the rectangle. Yes, the width is changing, but the color is changing depending on the width. So you can see if I go all the way to the right, the color changes to green. But if I stop in between, it's like a grayish, orange, greenish, reddish color. So so this color is changing depending on the width. So changing width, the changing width is the trigger here, and the change happens on the rectangle. That thing is easy. Change happens on the rectangle, so that's the object. And the happening change is the changing color. The color is changing, so that's the response. And so this is the last one. So let's add another interaction on top of this. So we have our first interaction. I'm dragging the rectangle, it changes size. It's already here. And when the width is changing, the rectangle changes its color, it's also here. And I added another one. So here, depending on the width, same as the color, depending on the width, the value on this text layer is changing. So if I go all the way to the right, it's 100. If I go all the way to the left, it's a 0. So here the same thing, depending on the width, uh, the whole change happened depending on the width. So that's the trigger. And the change is happening on the text layer. So that's the object here. So until now, the object and the change happening on the same thing. So this is different. So here the object, the change is happening on the text layer. So that's the object. And what is the change? The change is change, the value change. So value is updating based on the width. So yeah, so that's a basic structure of ProtoPie on how the triggers and objects and the responses are working. So how we build things. Objects we build by ourselves. So we object as in the design, right? So we create the design by ourselves, and ProtoPie has provided us triggers and the responses. So what we do is we take objects and we add triggers and the responses for those. So ProtoPie has provided us a bunch of triggers and triggers and responses. Let's quickly look into what are the triggers and the responses we can use on ProtoPie. So these are the triggers. So you saw in the example the tap trigger. So that is already here. And there are so many triggers. So it has a tap and the mouse click related, mouse related triggers. So it has tap, double tap, touch down, touch up, long press, fling, drag. Everything is here. Pinch, rotate, and also 3D touch, pull. There are so many. And also I mentioned this is not just for mobile, right? So it has mouse related, mouse over, mouse out as well. And you saw in the second one of the examples, it was using forms. So so this set of triggers to validate, to use with the forms. So the focus, so example, let's say focus. The focus, from focus, what we can do is when when one of the objects, when the input field is in focus, you can do changes. Like when the input is in focus, you can change the color of the input field, something like that. So anything you can do using this focus as an example. So press is just pressing any key on the keyboard. So return is pressing on the return key, or pressing tapping on the return key on the keyboard. Those kind of like device related stuff also we can do using ProtoPie. And the next set is, so I'm showing these triggers and the responses for you guys, because then you know what are the potential of what is the potential of ProtoPie, what are the things we can do on ProtoPie. Because I don't think we will be able to cover the entire triggers and the responses today, but yeah, we'll see. And so yeah, this is another set of triggers. So these are detect and chain and range. So all of these like listeners on programming languages. So this can work as a listener. So as an example, so you listen to a, so let's say you listen to a scroll and do things. So you remember what Tracy shared today, right? So she has this pump number. So you, when you scroll, depending on the scroll, you can you have to show hide the arrow, the chevron. So that, for that you have to use detect, range, or chain. So there are different use cases, but yeah, well, that's one example we can do using one of these. So this is not just for scroll. So you can do many things depending on something else. So listening, so you're listening to a text change. So as an example, let's say you type something. So if you type hello, you should show that hello on somewhere else. So you saw in the first example, one of the examples, when you type the card number, that card number can be seen on the top view. To do that, so you have to use one of these. So you're listening to something and do something. So that is same as on other programming languages as well. This is not a programming language, but yeah, you can do that without even writing a single code. And the next set is very interesting. So this is only on ProtoPie, I think. So this is device related, mostly on mobile. So you can talk to you saw an example of recognizing speech, and also all the sensors, proximity and other sensors, and you can talk to the 3D touch on iPhone. And sound, you saw what is sound. So you can ask to listen to something and you can speak it up. So you can build Siri as an example using ProtoPie. And also on some examples, he wanted to move the gradient here and there based on the device orientation or device, right? So that you can use the tilt to do that. You just have to write. You can do that in 2 minutes. So it's very easy. So those are some of the potentials we can do using triggers we use in ProtoPie. So those are the triggers, and we have a set of let me move myself somewhere. So we have a set of responses as well. Uh, Related to triggers, we have set of responses. So this is basically something I won't go through everything. So you can see we have like very common ones like move, scale, rotate, re-rotate, color, shadow, you name it. It's everything is there. So you have the text, hand vibration, the haptic feedback, the camera, everything is here. But let me show something. It has some interesting very special set of triggers and the responses on ProtoPie. So these are for some like advanced stuff. So we can do so receive, and receive is a trigger, send, assign, condition, all are very, you can do advanced form. As an example, so you can so send and receive, you can use those to like talk between two ProtoPie files. So as an example, let's say concierge, so we have the post and we have the customer facing. So you can build a whole setup. So when you create an order using the POS, you can reflect that on another ProtoPie file on another device easily without writing anything. And that for that you can use send and receive. And also another example of send and receive is, let's say I have a form field. So I have a form, it has the name, phone number, whatever. And when I type the name and I submit, the next page I want to show hello and the name. So to do that, we have to use send, receive, or assign. Assign is another interesting thing, that is that to work with the variables. So ProtoPie has variables. That's a really advanced thing on the prototyping tool. So you can do really advanced stuff using variables. So we'll get into this if you have time. And yeah, so that is basic triggers and the responses. So I shared this because you guys can understand what other things we can do using ProtoPie. It's so many. So um, so we can start building things now. And my plan is, so I have three demos prepared. So I'm going to build three demos. So the first thing is really simple one, but here you have some kind of like slightly advanced stuff as well. So using the tap, and so when you tap, it's move here and there. So that's the first demo we're going to use. We're going to build. So I'm going to build. And the second one, it has the uh, chain trigger, the scroll behavior, and condition. So we're using all of those stuff. So when you scroll, the things are moving on the screen. So when you tap on this indicator, it goes back and forth. So that thing we're going to build. So if you have time, so we can build this third one as well. So this is actually validating a form. So you can see when I in focus, you can see and also, yeah, sorry, so this one, yeah, I'm validating the form field. So it needs to have 5 characters. When there's no 5 characters, I'm showing the error. So if you see again here, when it's focused, I'm changing the outline color. And I can type using the native keyboard. Here the validation happens. So you see the name I typed here. So when I continue, you can see that name appears on the next page on uppercase. So for that, we are using the input, the validation, formulas, and functions. So these are the three demos we're going to build today. So I think, yeah, let's get started with ProtoPie. So let me open ProtoPie real quick. I think we don't have any questions up until now, right? So I'll give me 1 second.
Yeah, someone asked about your camera.
What happened to the camera?
That's the question again. What app is it? What app you using for the camera view?
I'm using Loom.
Loom.
Credit goes to Gaddafi for suggesting that. Okay. Ooh, I have to move myself somewhere else now. Okay, so I open a ProtoPie file. So this is not a new file. So I just opened an existing file for, so then I can just take you guys around what is this? What the hell is this? And yep. So basically, left side. So let me quickly go through each section of ProtoPie and how it looks and stuff. So left side, I don't have to explain. So this is basic on every single design tool. We have this. So this is just a layer panel. So you can create groups and you can just rename or whatever. You can do things on here. So center, this is our canvas. So ProtoPie call it scene, and sometimes they refer this as artboard, but you can remember the name scene. So everywhere else they use scene. So in many places they use scene. So scene is where you can build stuff. So you can draw these like rectangles, and so I have these rectangles, and oh, so I have this button created, and everything is here. I did inside ProtoPie, but you don't have to build everything on design everything on ProtoPie. You cannot actually. So this is not a designing tool. So for that, so you can just import anything from Figma, Adobe, and Figma XD and Sketch. So you can just easily create on Figma, and then just you can use the plugin to import stuff here. And here we have our import section. So import, you have the image, video, audio, and Lottie. So yeah, it supports Lottie as well. You can just import a JSON file, and it works. And you can do stuff like, you can, when you tap something, you can pause and you can restart. Those kind of stuff also we can do. And yeah, those stuff. And as I mentioned, so you can create stuff if you want, but this is not a design tool again. So you only have rectangle and oval, and the text is just text, and also input. You saw the input fields, right? So those we can do using that. And on the right, so you have this preview button. So what it does is just open this preview. So if I close this one, and if I click here again, you can see the preview. So there's a real-time preview for the things I do. I can preview here. It's real cool. And also it has the recording feature, so you can reset from this one. And it has some other bunch of stuff as well. Yeah, so this is preview, and this is where the magic happens on ProtoPie. So these are the triggers and the responses I talked just now. I discussed, yeah, I shared just now. So this one is a trigger, and this one is a response. So that's how you build things. So here I have one interaction piece. So to achieve this one, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interaction pieces. So the whole thing together, I achieve this one. So this is, again, this is a trigger, and this is a response. A trigger, and these indented ones are responses. Trigger, response, trigger, response. You get it. So this is the basic uh, structure of the ProtoPie interface. I think I missed these two. So this one is device, as in you can preview your ProtoPie prototypes on your phone. So this it works on Android and iOS both. So you just have to just have to download the ProtoPie player, and then just scan the QR code. So these two buttons related to that. So this run button is to just run it. So if you click, when you click on this, the ProtoPie runs. So these are cloud related. So you just have to upload and view. So if you upload to cloud, you can just access from anywhere. And yep. So this is a basic structure of ProtoPie interface. And then let me start with the initial prototype. So let's build the first demo. Let me close the other one. And so if you guys can remember, so first thing I'm going to build. Oops, sorry. First thing. Why is jumping? What is happening? Sorry, technical issue on Figma. I didn't do anything. Okay. I don't know. Something happened. Yeah, first thing I'm going to build is that, if you guys can remember, that's just a little clicky thing, right? And so here, this is what you see when you open a new ProtoPie project. So you can see here, you click on this. This is your canvas size. So you can select any canvas sizes from iPhone to Android to iPads, desktop, custom, any size, and you can change the orientation and all stuff, like everything, like almost the things we can do on any other design tool. And let's get started with Yeah, let me just create a background. So I click on this one and then click rectangle. I don't have to explain that, right? That's just basic everything. So let me put a color to that one as well. Okay, and see, as you can see, as soon as I change things, it's appear live on the preview. So I can just keep this one running on the side. And then let me add another rectangle. So this is my button. Okay, that's nice. And let me, okay, and add a text also, button text. So what was it? Move, right? Type move, line. So here you can, yeah, this right side. So you have all the properties related to each and every element or layer you select from here. So you click just a rectangle. So you have properties related to that. So I click on text. So it has some extra properties. And yeah, let me change the font. And okay, change the color and bold maybe. Okay, here you can just align same as, and here I'm going to create a group, Command G, Figma, and let me just background. So basic stuff is ready. So then we need something to move. So let me create a rectangle. Okay, so we have everything ready. So now we can let me just rename this one. So everything is ready. Now we can start creating this interaction. So what I want to do is when I click on this one, I want this to move by 250 pixels. Yeah, 250 pixels. Let's do that. And so what is the trigger? So I click on move, right? Click on the button. So that's the trigger. So to add a trigger, so you can see here on the right side, so you can click on add trigger. So when you click on add trigger, so you can see all the stuff I showed just now. We can choose any of these triggers to work with. So here, what is the trigger we want? The trigger we want is tap. So I click on tap, and then I had to select the layer. So again, I'm tapping on what? I'm tapping on the button. So that's how you add a trigger. There's another way of adding a trigger, a recommended way, I would say. So this is one way, nothing wrong with this. But the second way, let me delete this one. And second way, so if you can remember, so when I click add trigger and add tap, so you can see this is like a yellow thing, right? So that says something, not something like this is something wrong. So because here the issue is because I haven't selected a layer. So to select a layer, you have to click this one and select a layer. What if you have like 300 layers and you have all like rectangle 1 2 3 4 5 6 names? So that will be really hard to select, right? So to make it easy, you can just click on the object first and then click add trigger and then click whatever the trigger you want. So when you do that, the trigger has automatically selected here. And now we have the trigger ready, and now we have to add a response. So when I click this, this is the object that moves. So we have to add a response to that. So to add a response, you have to click on this little plus button indented to each trigger. So if you add another trigger, let's say I add another trigger, so you can see this response is related to this one. That's how it works. Let me delete that. And yeah, so I click on this one, and I can see again. Again, you can see all the responses related to this tap trigger. So what response we want? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one to by 250 pixels, right? So the response we want is obviously move, but you have a bunch of other responses you can work with as well. So I click move, and here again, here the second thing you had to do is select the you had to make sure this one is correct. So here, what is moving? Button is not the one moving, right? So we had to select the correct layer. So we had to select the rectangle. Again, you can do the same thing. You can click this one first and then click on the plus button. So that's the recommended way. So you don't have to worry. So here, if you do that, when you do that, so you can see the rectangle is selected. So here I had to type uh, how much it will move. So well, I said 250, right? So I just have to type 250 here. So how this is how we read. So actually, yeah, let's test it out. Test it out. So all done. So when I tap this, it moves. Yeah, it works. So yeah, that's how you add a trigger. So this button you can just reset. Tapping on this, you can just reset. So the way you read this one, so you have this is the trigger name. So you have the tap trigger, tapping on a button, and then this one, the move happens on the rectangle by 250 pixels. That's how you read the interaction on ProtoPie. So let's add another trigger. Let's rotate this. So when it goes here, let's rotate. So same thing, I click on the object again, and I click on the rotate, and here you can see settings related to rotate. So if I click on the move again, so you can see it's a different set of settings, and here different set of settings. But here I think yeah, one thing I ignore on the last one is this rotate by and to. So if you go to move also again, so you can see by and to. uh, y- Many of these responses here has this by and to. What is this by and to? Yeah, you can see on many. So by and to is absolute and the relative value. So here I say 2. That means it will go to 250 pixels. So when I click this, it goes to 250 pixels. So if I change this to 100, it will go to 100 pixels. And if I tap again, nothing happens. So if I change this to by, that means every time this trigger happens, this will move by 100 pixels. So if I click on this one, it goes 100 pixels. And if I click again, it goes another 100 pixel. Click again, another 100. Click again, another. So that's the difference between by and to. So by is a relative. So for this particular position, relative to this particular position, it goes to this. And again, everything resets, and from here it goes another 100. So that's by and to. That you will see by and to in many places on ProtoPie. That's what it does. So let's change this back to 2, and 250 is what we had before. Okay, fine. So just let's add the rotate. So rotate. So I want it to rotate to, when I click on this one, I want it to rotate to let's say 90 degrees, and we have the direction, so it's clockwise. I think you cannot see, but there's a little arrow here. um, Select clockwise and anti-clockwise. So let's check this out. I'm not sure that you guys can see this is rotating. Let me, because it's, I don't know, it says laggy on your end, but here let me just quickly go through this one. So these are the you can, you know, this one, these are just animation settings. You can select the easing and the duration and the delay and everything. So this little section on the right side is, it works as a timeline also. So if you increase this one, you can see the duration is increasing. If you move this one, the delay is moving. So that's, you guys can just play around. It's very easy to understand. So let me increase this to 1 second, and same goes to this one, 1 second. Then you will see the rotation, I think. So yeah, you can see the rotation happens, but it goes down and goes up. Why is that? So that's another thing to remember on ProtoPie. So to show why is that, let me remove this move for a second. So if you want to just disable one of the triggers or one of the responses and see how others react without that response or trigger, so you can just click on this toggle, so it will just disable the response. So if you click this one, it only rotates. You see the issue there? So it rotates from top left, not from the center. That's why it goes down and then goes up again. And why is that? So that's because how ProtoPie works. So it comes with the anchor point. You can see the anchor point here. I think you can see anchor point is on top left. So here also you can see the anchor point is on top left. So if you want to move around the center point, so you have to click on this center. And the other thing to remember, when you're changing the anchor point, the width and the x and y positions also changing depending on the anchor point. So that is related. So this x position is relative to the anchor point. So that one you have to remember as well on ProtoPie. So yeah, so when I click this one, so it moves around the center point. So let's enable back the move trigger, and then let's retry. Okay, it won't go down, it'll just happen smoothly. So let's do something else. So how I, let's say I want to take this back to the original position by clicking this button again. So if I click this again, I want it to come back to the original position. So how to do that? So again, I have to add trigger, right? So I click on the button and I add a tap, tap trigger, not add trigger. So I click on the button, add trigger and tap, and then click on this one and then move. What is the original position? The original position is 79. How do I know? Because ProtoPie by default showing the original position as in the canvas where it is on the canvas as a placeholder here. So you don't have to click this one and check the value. You can easily see on when you click on any of the fields, you can see the default value. So this, so type 79. Will this work? I don't think so. So click on move, nothing happens. Just a rotation is happening. Why is that? So here, why is that is because I have two triggers for the same button. So we are saying to the ProtoPie, when I click on this button, move, and also when I click on this button, come back. So ProtoPie is just doing nothing because it has no idea what the hell we are talking about. And it reads from top to bottom. That's how ProtoPie read stuff. So if you want the second trigger to happen before the first trigger, you have to just move around these ones. And so yeah, it's not working. So how to do that? To do that, actually we need to check whether this one has moved or not, right? if if this rectangle has moved to this new position, and then when I tap on this button, if the position of this rectangle is this new position, then take it back. If the position is the original position, then move to the right. That's what we want to do. So for that we need a condition, right? So we need a if else condition. If if the x position of this rectangle is the original position, please move. If the position of the rectangle is this new position, uh, move it back to the original position. So let's do that. So how to do that? So I don't need this one anymore because it's not the one we wanted. To add a condition, so depend on where you want to check the condition. So now I want to check the condition after I tap on this button. So that means it's inside the tap trigger. So when I tap the button, I want to check the condition. So tap this one, and then I'm checking the condition. So again, a response here, tap on the condition. So what is the condition I want to check? The condition I want to check is the x position of this rectangle. So here, same as previously, where the way you select responses and triggers. So you click on this click on the layer you want, rectangle, and here you're checking the x position. So it has other stuff as well. So you can check the width, height, rotation, radius, fill color, border color. Depending on any of these, you can do things. So if the, I don't know who is going to check the radius and do stuff, but still ProtoPie has provided that one. If the radius is 8, do this. If the radius is 16, do this. You still have the capability to do that. So here what we want is x position. So here what I'm going to do is, if the x position is the original position, do these two. Please move it and please rotate it. So what is the original position? So again, when you click, as soon as you click on this field, ProtoPie knows we are checking for the x, and it gives us the original position. So that is 79. So if the rectangle x of the rectangle is equal to 79, so here you can see other stuff as well. Greater, more than, less than and equal, more than and equal, not equal, all the conditions we have here. So I'm checking the x position and it's 79. So if this is then I want these two to happen. So that means I had to move this inside the condition. So let me move it here. So here, and this is how you read the trigger again. So I will tap on this one. It's the button I'm tapping. Then the condition I'm checking, x of the rectangle is 79. Move the rectangle by 250. Rotate the rectangle by 90 degrees. That's how you work. So this should work. Click on this one. It moves, but it it won't come back because we haven't add that condition yet. So let's add that condition. Click on this one again. Add on click on condition. Again, I'm checking the x of the rectangle. This time I'm checking if it's not equal to 79. If it's not equal to 79 means it's had move. So this thing you want to add here, not equal or equal, that's totally up to you. Maybe you can just test whether you can check the new x value after it moves. You can check this particular text x value, and then you can add the condition. It's totally up to you. So here what I'm going to do is I just going to check the x position whether it's 79 or not. So I'm going to check 79, and if it's not equal to 79, I want this to come back to the original position 79 and rotate to 0. And let me change the duration to 1. Let's see whether it's working. So I click on this one, it goes to the right, and click this one again, it comes back. So it works. It's checking the condition. So uh, a little something extra here, and ProtoPie has, sometimes it has different way of doing the same thing. So here what I did was I manually add these values again for the original position. I basically what I did was I just take the value from this one. So 79 is original position. I add this one here. The rotation is 0. I add that one here. But the ProtoPie has a nice feature called, nice response called reset. So what it does is it resets everything back to this original canvas settings. So here, let's say I did some crazy stuff with, like, I increase the size, add the shadow, change color, whatever, add blur, everything. But if you put reset, it will reset back to this original X, Y, height, color, style, everything back to the original position. Let's try that one out. So I click on rectangle and I add this response. It's one. Yeah, let me change it to 1. And let's disable these two to test it out whether rectangle is working as I wanted. So I just disable this one. Let's try this one. It goes and it comes back. It works fine. So we don't need these. We don't need these. Sorry, we don't need these responses anymore. So I can just delete. So yeah, this is how you add any response, any trigger to uh, ProtoPie. So you can try play around with any of these responses. It works mostly like mostly the same way. You can, if you get this set of things. So this is the basic set of responses you have. You can play now. You have the knowledge to work with any of all of these: move, 3D rotate, opacity, color, radius, and everything. So in the next demo, we already 50 minutes now. In the next demo, we'll be working with the scroll, and also about the triggers. So you can work with any of these triggers up until touch. All the things works exactly like this. So you can play around with this one. So next, on the next demos, we're going to work with these. So the next demo we're going to work, I think I already showed. So this is what we're going to build next. So here I scroll in between, and I'm scrolling. When I'm scrolling, you can see the image on the top is changing, and I can see this little indicator is moving left and right. And when I click on this, it moves as well. So this is what we are going to build. Before that, I think, let me check if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, there's a few questions. The first one from Mujib. What is fling trigger?
Fling is mobile related. So it's like you fling something. in the notification center, you can just fling it up. You can just move fast and it'll go back. It's not a drag, so if not like smoothly you're dragging, it's just you just quickly swipe it up and it'll go just a fling. That's a Android term actually, but it have available on iOS also. So I think I answered that one, right, Mujib?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, another one is, can we move multiple shape at the same time?
Sorry.
Can we move
Multiple
multiple
shapes.
shape or object? Yeah, at the
Ah,
same
yeah.
time.
So let's say I have a oval this time. So I just have to add the so this tab. So this trigger can have millions of responses. You can do multiple stuff. So if I want to move, so when I tap on the button, if the X position is this, if I want to add another response to this one, so the plus button actually moves here now because it's inside the condition. So then I can scale. Let's say I'm scaling the oval. So scale to say 300 by 300. So yeah, it should work. You just have keep on adding stuff inside one trigger.
So that means everything is under this one tab, right?
Yeah. So let's say I
Ah,
have another button. Let's say sorry. Let's say I have a. So let's say this is a button. Let's say this is a button. So if I want to move this by tapping this, then I click this one, tap this rectangle. Then I want to move this oval to minus, sorry, no, not minus 100. So if I click this one, it will resize. If I click this one, it will move. So if I click this one first, this trigger is happening. And then if I click this one, this trigger is happening. It's up to you what you want. So you can add any number of triggers and any number of responses. So one trigger can have multiple responses.
nice. That's another question from Gaddafi. Are you from India?
No, you can learn about it on the next demo.
Cool, cool.
Okay, shall we
So,
move to the next one? It's only 5 minutes.
sorry.
You only have 5 minutes. Shall we move to the next one, or you have more questions?
I think we can go quickly for the next one.
Okay. 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 Next one. You saw what is that? So, right. So this is what I'm going to build. So for that, I'm going to use Figma to import my designs. Figma gave me an issue just now. Okay. I think you guys can see, right? Yeah. So I have I have prepared the design here on yeah, I have prepared the design here on Figma. So if you see the structure here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll this page. So these are 3 pages now. So I'm going to make this a scrolling thing, scrolling container, scrolling behavior. You know how to work with scroll on Figma. So this is exactly like that. And I have this indicator. That indicator has this current. So what I'm doing is when you scroll, this will just move. So this is just another rectangle. And I have this bases and the images you saw when I move these. When I move this, you can see the opacity of the image goes down, and this thing happens. So this is how I structure the images. So you can see I have the image as a separate PNG, transparent one. So when I reduce the opacity, you can see, sorry, when I reduce the opacity, it goes down. That's how I have all the images. So that's how I have all the images. So let me import. So how to import? So you have to use the ProtoPie plugin. Sorry, you have to use the ProtoPie. I can see. Okay, ProtoPie plugin. Before that, you have to click on the one or many scenes you want to import. You click on that. You click on ProtoPie, and then you see how many scenes you have selected. So just click export and it's importing. So this is the old one I had, and this is the new one I just imported. Okay, this has nothing. I cannot do anything. Um, and yeah, so you can see all the stuff I had on Figma. It's exactly like this. And another cool thing. So let's say you had a scroll on Figma. ProtoPie already converting that to scroll container, but I didn't add the scroll here. Let's add the scroll here. So first thing, let's add the scroll. So to do that, so I have this container thing. Okay, and then I have three options. So this container means these are just a group, like on Figma as well. And this one is scroll, and this one is paging. So let's add the scroll first and see what is that. And so I have to just place. So this is where this is how I create. So I just recite so the size I want to scroll. So if I have only like half size, I only can scroll this bit. Yeah, I think I don't have to explain more about scrolling, guys know. So let's put this as something scroll, and then I have to move all three pages inside, and done. Not done. Why it's not done? And yeah, let's see. So this is what I have. So I click on this one. So and it has it. So on the right side again, you have all the properties related to scroll, and any layer you select on the left side, you have the properties. So here I have the scroll selected, but the direction is uh, vertical. So I want to change it to this. So when I click this, it should work. It's working, but this is not what I want. So it stop in between, right? So that means because we don't, so that means I had to select the paging. You know the paging containers, right? On yeah, you know paging. So paging means it'll it'll snap it'll snap to next page. So if I'm not halfway to the next page, it'll go back to the previous, something like that. So yeah, first thing, yeah, we already done. We did the paging, so that's done. But if I click on here, it's not working. But I want it to work for the whole section at the bottom, so it's not working. Uh, what to do? How to do that? So one thing I can do, I can just increase the size of the paging container. So yeah, it'll work. But let me do it in a different way. So if you scroll all the way down, uh, on the right side, I have selected the scroll container, paging container. So you have this touch area. So this touch area is available on every single element. You click on the left side, you can increase the touch area. That's a nice feature on ProtoPie. Let's say you have like a small icon with a button, but you want to make a bigger touch area. You don't have to just wrap it with the empty pixels. You can just click on this one and you can increase. So if I put a number here, you can see on the yellow one is the touch area now. So what I want here is, 357 pixels from the bottom. So this one equal, that means, yeah, if I type 0 here, it'll everything get updated. So I just disable this one. That's not what I want. 357 enter, and yeah, you can see the touch area here, it's now increasing. And yeah, that's done. So the another thing, now I because remember, I want these to tap, but tap won't work because this touch area is covering. So there's another thing on ProtoPie, so you can make any layer, um, the layers make lower layers touchable. So yeah, you can make enable this one. So if you did this, the bottom layers are clickable and touchable. And yeah, so that's how you create a scroll container. It's just easy. You don't have to add any triggers or anything. It's just building stuff on the canvas. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the position of this indicator to move. So when I move to the second page, the indicator should go to the second position. For that, I'm going to use this chain trigger. What is chain? Chain is, let me explain what is chain. So what chain does is chain is listening to a change on one of the objects and behave accordingly. So here So this one is changing its X position. So depending on the X position, this rectangle is changing its size. So that's what chain does. So this is not the X positions. You can check anything. So depending on the opacity, do this. Depending on the rotation, do this. It's up to you. And here on for this for our demo, I'm going to use the depending on the scroll position. I'm going to change the indicator position. You can understand what I'm going to do. So depending on the scroll position, so now it's a 0 position, right? So I'm moving, and then when I come to this one, uh, it should be on the second. So let's do that. So first I have to add a chain. So what is the trigger? The trigger is a scroll, right? So the scroll is the one changing. So that's the trigger. So which scroll? Scroll on what? Scroll on the scroll container. So I click on the scroll container and I click chain, and then yeah, it's automatically select the scroll because it's a scroll container. This is the layer name, and this is the chain you want. So if you click on this one, you have all the other stuff I just showed, right? So we won't scroll on the scroll uh, container. Okay. So when the scroll container is changing, I want this indicator, the current one, to move to the center. So okay, let's add the response. So when I'm changing the scroll position, I want this current one to move, right? So when I click on this, so you get some kind of like a different properties here. So you can see because I click this one first, this current one is already selected. So this is the scroll range. So when I scroll from here to here, how much actually I'm scrolling? So I'm scrolling this all the way to here, right? So that means I'm scrolling 375. I'm scrolling the device width. So I'm scrolling the entire device width. So that means when the scroll is going from 0 to 375, so change the position. So I'm moving, right? So I'm changing the X and the Y depending on that. So what is the starting position? So to get that, so I have to click on this one and check the values. So I click on this one, I check the values. So it says 0 and 0. If you guys just wonder how come it is 0, it has some pixel from left side. If you guys didn't wonder, it's okay. But if you guys wonder, it because again, ProtoPie works with the relative. So this position is relative to the indicator, relative to the parent. So if you click on the parent layer, it has 108 pixels. That's the distance from the left. But this one is relative to the parent. So the childs are relative to the parent. So click on move again, and yeah, I'm going to add. Sorry, what is the position again? 0 and 0, right? So we are not changing the Y position. So it's up to you. You can just type 0 here, but because I'm not changing the Y, I won't add. Let me add that one. Why confusing? Okay. 0 and 0s, and then I want this to move to here, right? So that is 56. So either I just move here and get the value, or I can just simply click on this one and just check the value. It goes to 56 pixels. So X should be 56, Y should be 0 again. So because Y is not changing, you can either type the same value again, or just you can just remove. It's up to you. It's ProtoPie recognize Y is not changing. So yeah, here you can see when I move this one, it moves, but if it goes back again. So that's how chain works. So based on the score position. So if it's 0, it's 0. If it's 375, it's 56. So now it's 375. Now it's 56 because I'm going back to 0. It moves along the scroll. So if I go all the way to the right, nothing happens because we didn't add anything for scrolling beyond 375, right? So this is the third page. We didn't add anything. So let's add that one real quick. So this is one range we have. So I can add multiple ranges for this one response. So let me add another range. So I click on this plus button and I get another range set. So this one, I want this to 375 to how much? So 370 by 375 and then another 375, right? So that's 375 by 2. It's standard, right? So I go from here to here because this is 375. I move. So this one goes 375, that appears. But if this one goes minus 375, it comes here. If I minus another 375, it goes to the original position. So that means it's 750. That's 750. When it's 375, I want it to be here in the middle, right? So we already set that one here. So it's 56. And when it's 750, I want this to move all the way to here. So what is the position of this one? It's 112. So I put 112. Now it should work. So if I go to the second one, it goes to the second one. If I go to the third one, it goes to the third one. It comes back like that. And let's do the tap quickly. So what I want is when I tap on this first one, it should come back to the first one. When I click on third, goes to the third, goes to the second, likewise. So to do that, so I want tap triggers, right? So I'm tapping on these bases, these light gray ones. So group base 1, base 2, base 3. So let's add the base one first. So I click on this one. I add the tap trigger. When I tap on the base, what I want to do, I want the scroll position to be 0, right? So if I'm here, if I click this scroll, it should scroll all the way back to 0. So the response is here, the new one, it's scroll. So if you want to change the scroll position by tap or any other trigger, so you have to use this scroll. You click on this one, then you have this, you have to select the scroll layer. Because I already selected before I'm clicking on the response, that's why it's already there. And then scroll to 0. So I'm tapping on base 1, and then this scroll page should scroll to 0. So let's test it out. Let me just go one page to the right and click on this one. It comes back. Yeah, it comes back. So I want this to happen on all 3 buttons. So I have to add one each manually. So I tap on this one, guess base 2, tap on this one, and I click scroll. Now scroll should be 375. And third one, click the base again, add another trigger, and scroll should scroll to 750. Let's test it out. So when I click on the second one, it goes to second, third, second, third. And if I click on the third one, it's just quickly move to the third one as well. So this is how, so this here we learned how to use chain. So chain is not just for scroll, you can do anything with this. And also how to work with the scroll view, how to change the scroll position. So I mentioned about Tracy's project, right? So actually, by this is exactly what you have to do to achieve that one. So by everything is here. So what you do is changing the position of the scroll depending on your tap on that button, and depending on the scroll, you show hide the button. So that's exactly here we did in a different demo. And we have another thing, right? So I want this to change. I think I won't be doing that now. I think you guys can figure it out. So what I'm doing in this, let me go back. So what I'm doing here, when I scroll, you can see, right? So when I'm scroll, this one is moving. So this is, and the position and the opacity, everything is changing depending on my scroll. So when I scroll to the second page, this one goes and replace this one. So I resize the size, I reduce the opacity of this one, and goes here. At the same time, this this is Mujib, right? Mujib comes here, and then Gaddafi comes here. So I'm just changing the XY, and I'm changing the XY position, I'm changing the scale, and I'm changing the opacity. So you can see from here, this is the final one. So we built everything except these just now. So this is what we have. So if I undo this one, So let's see. So if I just quickly go through, so this is the moving one. So I'm adding one for moving. So from 0, it stays on 648 by 48. This is the 48 by 48 position. So this whole thing moves to 104 when I go to the second page. That means here. And when I move to the third page, it goes here. That means 109. So that's the move. So I have to add one for the move for this one, right? And then I have to add another one for the same for Melan. So same for same layer. That one when yeah, this is scaling means the resizing, you know. So when I scroll to the second one, it should go here. So that's happening from here, from 0 to 375. It changes back to, it goes down to 20 by 20. That's the size of this one. And it has, so you see this one move has two ranges, but scale has no two, it's only had one. Because when I'm going from second page to third page, so you keep an eye on this yellow one, right? So it just goes down, it won't change the size. That's why I don't have a scale here, sorry, another range here. I don't want to do any, I don't want scale to happen after 375. And then the opacity, so this is my face, yeah, this one, this layer. So when it's 0 and 200, so when so up until now everything I did was for the full scroll, 375, 375, 375, 375, 375. But here just tweaking a little. So it goes to 0 opacity by 200 scrolls. If I scroll, and let's come back to the original position. If I scroll, once it's 200, that image is already gone. So I just tweaking it a bit, tweaking it a bit. So yeah, see, when it's 200, its scroll is opacity is 0. So that's what I did. So this is, so these three are for Melan here. So they need these three are just for the Gaddafi's layers, and then for this is for Mujib. So it's the same thing I'm doing. I'm just changing the position and the opacity. I think I won't be building just now this now. I think I'll pass these files to you guys. If you're interested, you can just try it out. You're going to you you are getting a problem when you're doing this, and let me know what is that. So you're going to get some resize problem. So when you resize, it'll just you're going to do some weird things if you resize this, and let me know. Then you can debug that, and it's a good way of learning as well. I think we have 15 past 6 now. So I have another demo. I don't think we have time to do that. So let's park that one to another day.
Nice. I think
And
people are
okay, thank you.
yeah, I think this one is quite a lot already to actually,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But there's another question from uh, Danny. I feel like I want to mask the red current inside the gray pagination.
Sorry.
Melan, is there any masking option for ProtoPie?
Masking, the only thing you have is just clip sublayers. So let's say I have a rectangle, then let's say I create a group, this one, and then I just reduce the size, right? So if I click on this click sublayers, it will just clip. That's the only masking it has at the moment. So you only can mask like
Then does the container
rectangle.
itself, can we change like border radius, everything?
Sorry, which can a container? Yeah, yeah, it can. Yeah,
Yeah,
change. You can change the board radius.
is the same as the rectangle below, right?
So
Yeah, okay, thanks.
this is like frame. This is like frame on Figma.
Yeah, understood.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the question that Danny has from your prototype, right? So the red indicator at the bottom of the page there. So right now when it moves, it's actually flow outside of its base, right?
Ah,
So
yeah.
so how is going the interaction when it moves? So it's actually disappear until it reach to
Oh,
the second indicator there.
One thing you can do one thing maybe you won't do sorry, move, maybe you can just change the color of this one. So let's say instead of moving, if I change, wait, yeah, I did remember. Yeah. So if I change the color, then I can change the color. So let me select one of the bases then, base 2 from 375. It will go from this color to this color. Then let me hide the move. Let me hide the. Let me reduce opacity of image as well. Then this should work. It's not working. What's that? Oh, what's that? Base 2. Yeah, yeah. My God. I select the same color. Yeah, just let me select just some red. Should work. Okay. Not working. Yeah. Yes, it's good. So it's not working because this is an image. When you import stuff from ProtoPie, Figma, even if it's a vector, they convert it as an image. But you have the option here to convert it back to editable layer. So when you click this, you get the color property, right? If I remove this one, I won't see the color property, right? So if I when I remove that one, when I click make editable, it changed to the color property. So let me change the color back again and change the opacity up. So yeah, it's changing like this. That's a one way of doing. And the second way maybe is like a hacky way. You get another vector from Figma and then click these
It's like
parts out inside
masking.
Figma. Yeah. Just get it like a no, on Figma, what do you call that? So these stuff.
Click content.
So you can subtract the
subtract.
thing and just place it over. So that's a hacky way. At the moment, you cannot do masking, please. This editable thing is actually I was going to show on the next one, but this, because I don't have time, so this make editable can be done on text also. So now it's just an image. So you click this one, it converts and it adds all the properties for that text. So you can just edit now. Okay.
Cool. Awesome stuff, Melan.
Is that all? That's the all. Yeah, that's all right. All the question.
I think there are some is excited to actually try it out. I mean, I cannot wait lah also to try this some exercise. Just for you guys